Alright, welcome everybody to the first part of the custom generator install video. I like the way it looks, fits real nice, and have it handy to run for extended periods of time during hot weather and charging batteries. So I'm going to run some exhaust out. I'm going to plug it in. There's the old cord from the last generator project. Just get to the controls pretty easily. The choke and run, pull start, exhaust, and I got some flex tube to make that an easier project instead of trying to do some hard pipe. Just gonna make a custom. Probably gonna come out just about where the last generator's exhaust came out. Exhaust pipe fits over the exhaust of the generator by about 1/4 of an inch. The higher pressure, smaller exhaust going into the lower pressure, larger diameter pipe. To make it hard for that exhaust to turn around and come back out and have an exhaust leak. So I'm pretty confident that just slipping that over that should be fine as long as it stays put. Probably run some tacks on these when I get the shape I want and just make it rigid by tacking in between the... In my research found something called an extended run fuel tank for these. I found just the lid with the threaded hole. I'm going to run my own fuel line and connect in where the stock generator used to connect into. That way I can pull fuel right from the gas tank, which will be awesome if that works. If not, I'll just fill it up. I think in my estimation it can run about 6 hours, long enough for the hot part of the day during summer, and long enough to get a good charge on the battery, so that's fine. If I gotta pull it out, fill it up every time, that's okay with me. I just do not want to have it chained up to the RV anymore. The fuel line I need is going to be going from down to 1/4 inch. We got some brass to adapt that. Got a fuel filter. And got a quick disconnect, which are also usually used on boats. You can remove the fuel tank. It's a 1-button release. Now I can pull the generator out, or also so I can spin the cap off. So I can disconnect the hose and then unscrew it. There's the primer bulb, so you can get the gas up to the generator using a couple brass barbs to reduce the... I got some of these handy little tube clip. I don't have too much luck with getting small hose clamps to crimp down. They always kind of create an odd shape and don't seal very well, so I got these little guys. Barbed 90 for the gas cap. The Predator 2000 watt extended run fuel cap. Got a 7-inch oil cooler fan, 80 watts. That's pretty thin. I'm not sure if I can hold that without a torch or a TIG. Just something, and that can go through and have a little better Made it a little wider, so that's some room to move back and forth if I want to. I think I'm going to cut a little notch out of this so it can fit over that clamp. But actually, I don't know. That's probably not such a bad idea to leave this back a little bit. This is all pressurized from a forced air from a fan in here that keeps the engine compartment cool. So it's going to be really hard for exhaust to turn around and come back out this pipe. So it might be fine. Tacked up where I want it. Got a little gap to seal. These obviously aren't cut too straight. Alright, got a bolt welded on here, drilled the hole, got that somewhat mounted. So, gonna mess with the position of this a little bit more, figure out how this is gonna come out, and then chop it off. Got the extra cut off here. Welded up some of these splines, or whatever you call them, just to make this a little more rigid and keep this in the spot where I want it. Added a nut up here, which I could hardly get to with the welder, so I'm going to pull this out and weld it up a little better. And I marked the end there to where that goes into the generator, because I'm going to heat wrap this up to that point. Alright, no points for beauty, but that should do the trick. Straighten it out so I get some heat wrap on there. Gonna see how that works anyway. Definitely burning some holes in this stuff. But quick welds just fine. I mean, it was going good, then it's just, I don't know. It seemed like when I hit it right in that valley, it was more likely to burn through. Alright, there we are. Turned out pretty good. Pretty solid, at least at the tip here. This is still pretty flexible, so I can move that around and get that into the generator. Let's see if that still closes. Yep. To secure it, I'm just going to use 2 ratchet straps, drill a couple holes, or maybe I'll find somewhere to hook them onto. One on back and one on front to keep it from moving front and back. And I'll put a couple boards as rails on each side of this so it doesn't vibrate from side to side. Alright, just cut a couple 8-inch strips, 1x2s. Just gonna measure where these need to go. Screw them in with these self-tapping bolts. And I measured 4.5 in the front and 7.25 in the back. That's this back edge here to the front edge of this lip on the plate. So 4.5. Mark it just in case I lose my spot. Solid. Whack those with a hammer. Looks like we already got some holes here from that fuel pump. I might just open that up a little bit, put one right here, put one in the back there, and one in the back there, and then I could just have a couple large holes to loop a hook through and strap it down from here to here. That way the strap's pulling this way and one's pulling that way. I can't move front or back. And this will keep it from jiggling side to side. Got the old chain bolted on there. Let's have a way to lock it up. So here's the cap. Got a 90 barb to 90. Got a 3/8 barb on one side and a 1/4 inch barb on the other side to reduce the hose sizes, since we're going from a 1/4 inch barb here to a 3/8 here. Got a fuel. It'll be something like that. Actually, it'll be something like this. the last piece needs to be. Alright, that was a little difficult to get all the way down and sealed. Definitely holding. Doing some rough guesstimations at the fan here where I want it. I just realized it might be easier to just drill a hole right through the center here, then I'll know what the center is on the backside, and then I'll draw the circle. And then I can put this down flat. I would take this off if it had screws, but it's got these flat rivets. They're a little harder to drill out than these. Screwed it in with some self-tapping screws. Added in 4 bolts to kind of so this back panel isn't so flimsy. These self-tapping screws only had this to screw into. Then there's just foam and done. Except for maybe a rain drip guard of some kind. Got some scrap 10 gauge. Alright, that is pretty snug. Got these on here good and tight, but not so tight it's going to warp the plastic housing or anything. But that is pretty solid. Let's go ahead and wire this fan in. Just going to put a simple switch on here for now. Later on I'd like to tap into where the hour meter's getting its power from, this 12 volts, and use a relay to switch it on and off. That way whenever the motor's running, the fan is running. And if it ever runs out of gas or gets to the point in the tank where it can't suck any more gas and it runs out, the fan's not going to keep running and drain the batteries. And it's operated by that. I would pull power just directly from the 12 volt plug here, but it says in the manual not to do that. So I don't know if that just robs power from the 120 volt circuit or what. I run the little hour meter on here because it uses very little power. And eventually this will get mounted somewhere a little more appropriate. Pretty nice straps, even came with this little built-in Velcro at the ends, so you can probably even zip tie it. I do not want these dangling. Yeah, I'll get some zip ties on there and get it nice tight. All locked up. For the fan, I ran 2 separate wires up here, ground and a positive, tapped in with some ring terminals on the battery bank, and that way I could run the fan off solar. Put a fuse holder on there with a 10 amp fuse, ran it back with some 12 gauge wire. Goes from the battery bank under the steps. Steps, goes up along the cross member there. It's got a zip tied along with some other wires. Goes over to the generator. In through one of these vents. And I got it secured up there. Some cable clamps. Put a switch. Just for now, eventually at some point I want to get a relay switch and have it just have the fan switch on whenever there's power going to the 12 volt plug. I would just run the fan off this 12 volt plug on the generator, but in the manual it says not to, so I'm just going to play it on the safe side and not put any more of a load on there than I already have with the hour timer. So that's just how it'll work for now. Just flip it on after I start the generator, and then comes to my safety measure for peace of mind. I have one of these, use them on your barbecue. It's a food thermometer. Put the probe in your meat and it set the temperature you want it to get cooked to. There's some presets, a button for meat, whether you're cooking chicken or beef. I don't know what the taste is, but basically you just set a temperature, and when the heat gets to that temperature, an alarm goes off. And so I put the probe down in there with the generator, and if that fan ever fails, which was my worry, fuse blows or something, cabinet starts getting really hot. It's not a perfect system. It's going to fluctuate up and down during winter and summer, so I have to play with it. Got it set at 100 right now, but let's say I had it set at 75. See, even the color changes when it gets close to the temperature. This is actually a cool little deal. If I ever have a barbecue again, I'm have to get one of these. Alarm goes off, you never overcook or burn your meat. So that's the alarm. If I have it set at 100 and it goes up past 100, that thing's going to start beeping at me. The cord's not very long, so it's stuck in there for right now. But that's enough to get my attention. So yeah, I just got the cord running through the floor. I had to cut out this old, it was already warped and falling apart anyway, so I just cut out the board so I can get to this hole back here where the basement light is. Got the basement light right there. So I just found a way to get the probe through. Had it come through the same rubber grommet the 12 volts for the fan is coming through. Put it through one of the cable clamps and zip tied it just to make sure that doesn't wiggle out or anything, but that should work pretty good. Just just to make sure this fan doesn't ever fail on me. So there it is. I'll give it a test now in a little bit. It's all secured. It's pretty solid with those straps in there. Got the hand pump. That's more just in case I run this out of. If I have like a half a tank, I'll be more enough to run the generator to get the vacuum pulling some fuel through. If I ever run the tank low and this dies on me, then I'll have to prime some fuel up into here to get this going again. That's what that's for. The fuel filter. Everything's pretty tight. Another 120 volts coming in. 12 volts coming up to the hour meter, which will just stay right here for right now. Just got that taped in with some masking tape. Let's start it up, see what happens. I know it'll at least run. I can just pull this out, fill up the tank, put it back in, and then I'll have a generator for a day to keep me cool. But hopefully this will pull enough vacuum to get some gasoline up here and it can run for quite a long time on that tank. And last but not least is a little gutter to keep the rain from getting right on this edge and on the fan. Painted, siliconed. There it is. I'll just wait and see if it'll pull some fuel up into this. Just gotta find out what it normally operates at. It's like 80 degrees out today, so it'll probably go up past 100. The testing the fuel system is going to have to wait till I go into town and get some more gas in the tank. I keep pumping it. And you can hear it sucking air back there, so I'm going to town and get some gas. Alright, I'd say that's working out pretty good. Just need to give that a real test when I get boondocking, let it run all day, and I don't know if that's gonna work out for sure. So far it seems like it's pulling fuel just fine though. Well, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the, we're gonna try making this electric start at some point. Have an idea with the drill motor. And then making it a remote start. Then we get to operate all this from inside the RV. But there's quite a few other things I want to get done first. So stay tuned, lots of projects coming up. Thanks for watching, bye.